Despite missile weapons being vilified by the Bretonnian high culture, the lowly peasant archers are nevertheless an absolute staple of Bretonnian armies and one of the best low-tier skirmish units in the game. And there are a number of reasons for that. Excellent range and an ability to take a few unique, not necessarily unique ammo types, but different ammo types, poison and fire, of course. This is myself as the Dark Elves against Rider Rohan's Bretonnia, of course. He's got Lewin with some hippos up in the air, Knights of the Lion-Hearted, and Defenders of the Fleur-de-Lis, along with 3 peasant arrows, two of which are pox, bunch of men-at-arms, some foot squires in the front line, and yeah, pole arms and swordsmen-at-arms. Relatively small Bretonnian army. I've got a whole spam of Dark Riders, including 4 crossbows, 4 lances and shields. We've got 4 fierce spears, and Blackguard of Nagron, Crone Hillebron up on her wagon, Sorceress of Dark Magic, and a K-Knight Assassin. So, Peasant Arrows, back to them. Yeah, 160 range is really good for this price. They're kind of matched, I believe they're even longer, or pretty close to High Elf Archers. Also, good AP values, 3 AP per shot. On the regular ones, I believe the Pox arrows are the same, I want to say. 3 AP per shot, yeah. And their leadership is pretty poor. Not the best combat stats, obviously quite poor in general, but their volume, you know, full on 68 as standard skirmisher, and long range in particular, plus the cheap cost makes them very cost effective. Here they're going to be just poisoning the heck out of that Dark Sorceress. She doesn't have much armor, so she's taking a lot of damage, and now the Crone gets separated kind of on the other line, side of the line here. She pushes through those swordsmen-at-arms, and now she's going to drop her buffs here, but you can see just the damage coming in from the Hippogriffs and from Lewin there. All the meanwhile, the archers are just shredding my Dark Riders there, so that's pretty brutal stuff. I obviously don't have any way of healing them, and Crone goes down, probably doing quite a bit of friendly fire to her as well with the repeater crossbows, trying to shoot at those Royal Hippogriff Knights, who we also managed to deal with, but that is a pretty bad loss right off the bat to just get Lord sniped like that, and I'm not feeling great about my chances. Balance of power is relatively far in Rider Rohan's favor, but of course, Dark Elves do have one of the best rubber banding mechanics in the game in Murderous Prowess, and probably the best army-wide ability, but yeah, we're going to get that going in just a moment. I took a huge wide flank with these Dark Riders, and that ended up being a pretty costly mistake, because these archers have been free to fire over half their ammunition, just doing a number on my repeater crossbows, which I'm really going to have to rely on to take out these Knights, and Lewin especially. You can see we get a good volley there on the Defenders of the Fleur-de-Lis, and finally we're going to land home against some of these peasant archers. They are quite squishy, and that Murderous Prowess picks up at exactly the right time, kicks off there up to 50 charge now and 30 melee attacks, so Peasant Arrows definitely take some damage. A nice cast of Shield of Thorns, though, does hit not only these Knights, but also hits the Peasant Bowmen. Will help them take a little bit reduced damage from that big power spike there, and yeah, likewise a little bit of Earthblood to heal up and help sustain these cavalry. Lewin drops down and terrifies away the Dark Riders. Most of them, some of them still holding for the time being, but K-Knight Assassin comes in here. He's going to try and take out that Grail Relic if we can. Also, another Soul Stealer being cast on the Knights of the Lion-Hearted, since they're relatively healthy. Also going to hit this Damsel and some other units here, maybe those arms with polearms, not quite. Blackguard just holding in the center for now, although they are at risk of being dragged down by numbers, and you can see we're starting to claw back on the balance of power as we clean up these peasant bowmen here. But I'm going to make a pretty critical mistake in just a moment. Rider Rohan's going to bring back these Knights of the Lion-Hearted, and I'm going to peel these 2 Dark Riders to attack them and try and pin them in place while I shoot them with all 4 repeater crossbows at the same time. Meanwhile, Lewin getting a regrowth to refresh his vigor and give him additional healing as he goes after that Dark Sorceress there. She is going to be fairly resilient, but yeah, I end up trying to tie down these Knights, which we do, and we do take them out pretty effectively with the repeater crossbows there, but that allows these 2 peasant archers to come back from route very critically, and they're going to start firing into the flank of these repeater crossbows. Likewise, the Murderous Prowess has stopped at this point, so I can't, you know, I still could probably charge with these repeater crossbows and try and take them out in melee, but Lewin's in the neighborhood. My number 1 objective right now is to try and take Lewin out. He does have Lion's Shield active, so that is going to mitigate quite a bit of the missile damage I throw at him. Yeah, these peasant archers here, one of them now finally coming back. starting to fire back in. All the meanwhile, I'm just kind of dying death of 1,000 cuts in the infantry fight, although at this point it seems like we're probably going to start to take the lead a little bit as nice healing hits those men-at-arms, and in particular the foot squires will be trading okay here. Blackguard will probably still beat them, but yeah, K-Knight Assassin uses the trophy there on Lewin as he pulls back around. And yeah, these Knights Lion-Hearted still just hanging on out around this flank, routing off some of these Dark Riders. There's even more Peasant Archers, yeah, back from route all the way over here. Just able to apply some poison in the various AoE, and keep in mind, poison does reduce missile damage, so between the poison, you know, reducing the damage of these repeater crossbows, and Lewin also getting timings of the Lion's Shield, between those two factors, the missile damage he's taking effectively from these repeater crossbows is greatly reduced, and just these very tattered Bretonnian units keep coming back to chase my Dark Riders around. These two Peasant Archers as well, firing in on the flank there, just doing a nasty little number. It is pretty close though. If I can hold my leadership, I feel like I might be able to eke out a win here if the Blackguards keep from routing, but the issue is that the cavalry situation, despite the fact I'm outnumbered right over Rohan so significantly, he was able to kind of get piecemeal engagements on me and take out all my cav kind of in separation rather than being all together, and made a few micro mistakes which he definitely punished me for. We are going to get some stuff back from route here, like these Dread Spears. This one Knight of the Lion-Hearted has been chasing these Dark Riders around. He's finally going to get mowed down. So we'll see. The Blackguard are wavering at this point. We managed to finally shatter one unit of Peasant Archers, but Lewin's going to just start terrifying everything at this point. Dark Riders come over to try and unleash a few more shots on Lewin, but again, these two Peasant Bowmen, one of which does have poison arrows still, are in range. They're here, and they're angry that they're just filthy peasants. They're going to be using their bows most unchivalrously. Sorry guys, my cat's like bumping around in the background. Don't know if you can hear that. But yeah, things are looking very, very grim for me at this point. So we'll go ahead and fast forward as Rider Rohan kind of cleans up various peripheral units. Doing my best to try and protect this caster here, if I can maybe get a couple more Soul Stealers, but I didn't even see Defenders of the Fleur-de-Lis are way out in the boonies there, waiting to come back to the battle and just finish me off. Lewin diving down and deciding which unit he wants to finish off when. Just quickly terrifies them. Here comes the Soul Stealer. That will actually heal the Sorceress a little bit and maybe keep me from hitting critical army losses. Just trying my best to do everything I can. If we were to somehow take Lewin down here, I think we'd probably win, but it's just going to be extremely difficult. I actually managed to dodge the attack animation on the Dark Sorceress there. Will the repeater crossbows get their volley before they get terrified? And, oh, they do, in fact, get a volley there. Will it be enough, though, is the question. Stand your ground plus Sword of Groan popped, so he's up to 69 melee defense. Very nice for King Lewin. All the meanwhile, my units are like 6 melee defense, 18, at 28 still for the Blackguard, but that's not enough. Ends up being actually very, very close at the end of the day, other than, again, those defenders coming in to sweep everything away. But very well played to Ride of Rohan. Hopefully you guys enjoyed watching that one. Definitely punished my mistakes very well, and just looking at things here, the Peasant Bowmen don't have a whole lot of kill total, right? They do have really nice damage value, though, for their costs, and that's one of the reasons why they're so good, is because they're super cost-effective. Generally speaking, cheap missile units can pay for themselves very easily. We've seen that time and again with Skaven Slave Slingers, Ungor Raiders, stuff like that, and these guys sort of fall into that category, I would say, to a degree. Basically, I would define any kind of low-tier skirmisher as sub-500, probably. So there's a few units that kind of fit into that classification. We'll talk more about that, but Drone Hellebron, yeah, if I had been able to protect her just even a little bit longer to get more effect from her Mortis Engine thing, that could have potentially turned things around, but alas, was not meant to be. Shadow Sorceress did great, as did the K-Knight Assassin. Fan of both of those here. Fear Spears kind of were just there as well. Blackguards actually did pay for themselves, ended up being a very nice tool. Dark Riders, kind of a mixed bag. Some of them did get home on their objectives, but not nearly in time. And even despite the damage the Dark Riders took, 3 of them still paid for themselves, so pretty impressive stuff. Lewin, though, 3,000 damage value. He's an absolute beast. The Hippogriff Knights didn't actually pay for themselves, although they got some work done. Yeah, men-at-arms are kind of just here as well. Foot Squire is actually decently cost-effective. And the Peasant arrows were really ones that carried quite a bit of the damage value besides Lewin. And really, I mean, the variability of the missiles you can take is a big factor of them being so high on that kind of low-tier skirmish unit list. So just as a kind of quick comparison, Blade Guards are just expensive enough I would consider them up above. Same thing with like Dark Shards, for example, right? But at 400 base and 450 for the ammo variants, Peasant Bowmen are pretty cheap, and I believe the fire has a slightly different, only 2 AP per shot on the fire arrows, which is something to keep in mind. Pox arrows, unless you need this fire for a specific target, almost always better to just take like Pox and base. In fact, the Pox doesn't gain any advantage over the base except the poison, right? So you may only want to take 1 or 2 of the Pox and then just take the rest as base, unless, of course, you have some other specific reason for doing so. But in comparison to some other kind of low-tier skirmishers, I typically rate Ungor Raiders a little bit higher, even though their range and damage is worse. They have Stalk and Vanguard, which gives them a nice little utility, as well as being much faster, and having 90 unit models gives them a higher volume of fire. Just some other kind of like weird specialties that they, the Woodsman and so on. The reason why I rate them higher, although if they had a poison variant, that would be even better. Peasants I would put at a pretty close second, I think, in terms of low-tier skirmish. Skaven Slave Slingers are just so cheap that it's very easy for them to pay for them spells, but it's not like they're necessarily going to do the same damage as these other two, right? If you think about some others, you've got Goblin Archers, of course, who are sort of like Ungor Raiders, but without the specialty traits, which makes them not as good, in my opinion. You do have the Night Goblin Archers, which have poison arrows again, but you kind of compare them 475 to 450. I mean, the Peasant Bowmen are worse in melee in every way, but actually only 4 less leadership. Not that you would want your Night Goblin Archers in melee anyway. I mean, maybe with the WA timing, it could actually get some damage done. Yeah, they have slightly more ammo, but much less range. Again, less models. More models, but less damage. So I rate the Peasant Bowmen a little bit higher, even though, again, the Goblins have, Stalk and Vanguard as well, just like the Raiders do. They're basically like Raiders with poison. So I said Raiders with poison would be good. Maybe. Maybe. Night Goblin Archers, the thing about them is they're slower, right? 36 base speed for the Ungor Raiders, but then they also have this additional 12% speed from Primal Fury, which puts them at, what, like 40 speed almost, probably? It's just actually pretty solid. I don't know. You guys will have to let me know down in the comments below. Maybe I'm just rating these weirdly. Night Goblin Archers are actually pretty good. You can also take them more expensively with the Fanatics, which is kind of outside scope of this discussion. Empire Archers are just kind of there. They really don't do a lot for you. They're only 350, so they are cheaper, but again, less range, less damage than the Bretonnian Peasant Archers. Really nothing special going on here. So, am I forgetting? I might be forgetting a low-tier skirmish unit or two, like Skeleton Archers. There's some others I'm sure that you guys will shout out in the comments. But in general, I would say just as your kind of traditional skirmish unit, right? The ability to bring poison and fire, the long range, 160 range is awesome. I guess if we were to really go all in, High Elves, like I said, are I think the only ones that can really compare. Yeah, 180 range is slightly longer. Better leadership and melee stats. Obviously, they have martial prowess as well. Actually, not that much better melee stats, which is hilarious. Much better leadership, though, which is definitely a factor in some situations. But again, no ammo variants. All you have is this silly armor variant, which is sort of here. Yeah. And the cost effectiveness, too. Being cheap is a huge advantage for skirmish units. The cheaper it is, the easier it is for it to pay for itself, right? So the Peasant Archers are kind of in a great sweet spot where they're still have really good abilities, but they're cheap enough to easily pay for themselves in most situations. So there you go. Hopefully you guys enjoyed watching. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.